Hello, everyone. I've been given permission by one of my clients to show you what's going on with some of the AI projects that we have. And this one is so new and cool that I wanted to make sure that everybody from AI for All and, of course, our general membership, both Q-Star and, of course, all of our advanced training, Agency Elite, everyone pretty much needs to be on the ball and start watching what's going on with the new image and reverse image, which means that you can actually, not reverse image, but infographic generation, which means not only can you go from text to an image, but what I've been waiting for is image back to text and or the ability to take multiple images and create something very, very complex. It's moving very fast, guys. So this is part of Eureka Gain score and symbolic reasoning. Now, what I'm going to show you today is I've got a situation. I'm going to show you a couple of different AI things all at the same time. And we're going to keep it super simple because it is actually getting simpler. So I do have a project running for Dan. And one of it is we have we're using Notebook LM. And I'm in a different browser for that. So let me open that one up. Notebook LM is going to have its own entire course. Okay, and you can see here that inside of Notebook LM, I uploaded all of Dan's chapters to his book on semaglutide. Okay, so you can see I have 1 through 13 plus an introduction. Okay, and we'll have other training on how to use Notebook LM because it's finally gotten incredibly useful when you know what you're doing. Okay, so this is quite useful when it's tied into a much larger system. So what you do here to create the audio is you just click this interactive beta. You click this, not the interactive mode. That's actually really, really cool, but we'll get into that later. You just load the audio, and the audio will take all of the documents that you have over here on the left, okay, and it'll make a bantering back and forth, very interesting, incredibly human sounding podcast about it. And I got to be honest, some of the stuff that I saw coming from the podcast generation has been extremely annoying to me because I didn't know under what context I would use it. Now I have a much better understanding of when you should use a podcast. A lot of the people are using it just to hear their own writing and their own material back and forth between a male and a female counterpart, actually discussing it, the pros and the cons, and giving insights. And let me go ahead and play some of that because you should be able to actually hear it.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about, semaglutide, the medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days. Definitely sparking a lot of conversations.
You guys sent in chapters from Slim by Science, the GLP-1 Peptide Advantage, A Patient's Guide to Better Health by Daniel Hollis. Figured we'd unpack it together, really get into.
Now, what's interesting is it named Dan by name as the podcast. The host named his book, and he's the celebrity guest, just like you might be on a Joe Rogan show or any other kind of shows that you watch, and the author is, of course, Paramount. So that's really, really cool how that is done. And what we're going to do now, what I did is I just simply downloaded it. Okay, you can download it as a file. And when you download it as a file, it'll just end up being a raw wave file. Okay. What I then did at this point is, again, we're just playing around here, guys. We don't know exactly what the end game will be, but we thought it'd be fun to show you. We loaded up the the WAV file here.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about, semaglutide, the medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days.
Now, what I'm doing here is going to upload this, but I want an image here because obviously it's image only. And it used to be you could go to fast sites and a few other things that we have, and we are going to update fast sites to have all kinds of the same features because we're just using the OpenAI wrapper, and we're going to actually enhance OpenAI, but we're going to enhance the ChatGPT through the fast sites. Okay, so what I wanted to show you here is we're going to go over to ChatGPT. We're going to go into the Dan Hollis project, and what I wanted to show you here is I have also updated into the project all of Dan's book chapters because he allowed me to do that. Okay, what that means here is that I can have a conversation about about his book. And now we're going to generate an image. We need to create a book cover image for a podcast that was downloaded from Notebook LM, where all 13 chapters of Dan's book are discussed by the 2 AI podcast members. And we are going to put the book cover on our Camtasia edits and upload it to YouTube. So we need something that represents the project files and, of course, his book, which you have access to. Shall we start some creatives? And then we just hit that. Yes, let's start the creative process. Since this podcast episode covers all the chapters of Slim by Science, initial concept and brainstorm. Visual title card on YouTube via Camtasia. We'll want to title overlay. And it's giving me some ideas for some elements. Main focus, a stylized 3D version of Slim by Science, microphone, icon waves, abstract data, cool. Yeah, these are all great ideas. In fact, I wouldn't even have thought of these ideas, guys. Okay? A stylized 3D version of the Slim by Science. Would you like me to generate the first draft? That would be fantastic. Go ahead and let's play around with the ideas and the element that you discussed above. And there she rolls. Okay. I'm letting this roll just so you guys can watch it come in so you have an idea of how much time it will take. So one of the things I want to say, I'll pull this out while we're watching, is the brand LLM part of the one WebRing system that we've remodified for 2025. This is the part that we're actually working on now, because this is training. You can actually use a project area inside ChatGPT 4.5 to act as your brand ambassador. Okay. So if we go and we look at, let's go ahead and put this over here. As long as the tone and the voice of your brand is coming through, taking a bit of creativity. I'm sure there's a lot of people hitting these image things right now. Since this was only launched a few hours ago. Probably would have been faster if I'd used our hyper realistic images inside of our area called Fast Sites, which is our own custom version of this. This takes a little bit more to build. There you go. Slim by Science. It's got a nice microphone. It's doing its finishing touches with AI hosts. It's actually adding the host. Now, this follows Google standards of letting everybody know that the AI is the host. Okay? That's fantastic. Why don't we try one that does a little bit different impact? So we have a couple to choose from. Maybe include something more organic, like healthy foods or something more natural rather than the neural nodes that you've got. Although those are fine for the science side of things. Is there a way we can combine both science and nature in this diagram? Okay. And it's going to roll right in. Didn't even say anything. So we'll just let it do its thing. Now, of course, you can probably expect Claude to head in this direction, Anthropic, and many other tools. Go ahead and let this roll so you get an idea of the time frame. Looks like it's going to use the same neural nodes, same kind of font. And let's see what it, here's the unveiling. There we go. We got some fruit and vegetables in there. Okay, I'm not sure I like that one. You're doing a great job. I don't like the second one as much as the first one, probably because the vegetables and fruit seem a little bit out of place, but it was a nice try. What can you do to the first one to have it seem even more congruent to Dan? I have uploaded an image of him to integrate into the book. I'm using drawing for a couple of other reasons. I don't want to tell you why I'm using it until I've verified that I've found a useful hack. I think drawings are more permissible than images. Let's see if he's able to do that. Quite interesting, isn't it, guys? How all of this is coming together really, really fast under a single umbrella. And once we have this one, then we'll add it to our Camtasia folder. I'm sure that there's literally tens of millions of people hitting this server right now because of the image maker, so I'm surprised it's not slower than it is. Now, again, as we begin to take this new API into fast sites and other things, there's already features planned that Darsh is planning on rolling out to customize this to your brand voice. Oh, look, they've tried to put Dan's face on the book. Look at that. They've even transformed it into a drawing. It doesn't not look like him, but it doesn't look that much like him. Now there is some rules within the chat of making things photorealistic. So let me bring up Dan's image, and you guys can see if you think it's done a good job of making it like him. Let's go to downloads and let's look at that image. Let's pull up his face. It's not too bad. Is it within your terms and conditions to be able to make it more photorealistic from the image that I gave you? Or what are your constraints? We're talking about his actual author's image. Into artwork or podcast cover graphics, as long as it's being used with permission, right? Here are my boundaries. I can make it more photorealistic or render it in different artistic styles. Generate hyperrealistic fake images impersonating real people. Right, that's all good. Are you able to use the image as is on the book cover? Okay, yes, it can do that. What's interesting here, and it's worth watching, is it has no real way of knowing other than my word that. Did you notice the policy? As long as I'm working with Dan on the project, well, it wouldn't. There's no certification for that or clarification. So I predict that these guys will have a lot of challenges with this image system, like they always do, like Dolly did. But okay, the original photo. Now we're gonna give it a suggestion because I don't know what'll look better. I think my preference is to not have that on the book, but down to the side, so it's obvious that the author is Dan Hollis. Maybe as an afterthought on the corner of the cover, and then on the book, put something like a pill or something relating to semaglutide without saying semaglutide on the book, and smooth it out so that it all looks good together. Another thing you can do, part of the reason it's just been kind of a long day, but you can do there's nothing saying you can't get book ideas from similar people in the market, okay? Especially at the end of the day when you have no creative energy left. So like you can look at all these book covers. Okay, these are just idea. I don't really want to use the needle thing. And honestly, like all the diet books look the same to me. Yeah, so I'm not even going to give him one. Let's see what it comes up with. There we go. And what I'm really curious about is how much power this is taking for millions of users, because I know that Dolly was fairly resource intensive. There we go. There's the reveal coming in. And we're probably just going to go with this one, but if you wanted to play with it, you could. Let's see what it does with his image. That's kind of what I'm looking for. They definitely did not keep his image as is. It's a slight change. It's funny, they did change. Look how close it looks to his image. See how they even... Yeah. I don't, it's a tricky thing because it does look like him a while back. I'm just not sure. If he doesn't like it, we'll change it for him. But you get the idea. So we gave it a shot. I just don't really feel it looks like him. So, and we'll just say, oh, okay, now one without his image, but with everything else identical. Okay, and we'll just let it. I'm not going to have you sit that one. But you don't know sometimes when you're looking at it until you look at something. So it's good. It gives you options. And again, there's a lot of people that are just continue to use Canva and other things like that. But it is interesting to see the constraints of these new AI systems that can now use words correctly, can type letters, can provide graphics. Now we do see quite a few spelling mistakes if they have over 15 or 20 words. But that's pretty good for just rolling out of the gate, really. All right, so that one took a lot less time because all it's doing is removing the image that we were not sure about. And of course, we would probably take this, believe it or not, to a professional or which means Kalen in our office. Once we get to that point, this is just a placeholder, so we're not trying to do anything serious with it. We're just trying to get a video up on YouTube so we can give you the experience of two AI podcasters talking about a brand in third person. It's kind of weird and uncanny, but a lot of people are listening to these. On average, people are listening. Believe it or not, there's something going on. Like people in the AI field spend less time listening and watching AI because we know what it is. But the general market is actually listening to these. Greater than 40% in some cases, depending upon the vertical. So that is really strange data. I wished it wasn't true when it came to some of the really bad AIs out there, but we'll see where all this goes. Okay, so here's with AI hosts, Slim by Science, chapter by chapter podcast breakdown. I didn't ask it to rate that at all. Like I don't know why I wrote that. I did not have it write that. That's all right. Okay, and then you're just gonna download it, and okay, and all right, we are. My wife was commenting. She was trying to take the shower, so I had to pause everything. All right, so now we're going to upload import media. We're going to go to this, and then we'll just bring it down into this area, and we'll just make it as long as the okay. Now we've at least got a cover on the.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious. All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about semaglutide, the medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days. Definitely sparking a lot of conversations.
You guys
Oh,
sent in chapters from Slim
you know
by.
what's not okay is that they didn't put Dan Hollis's name on it. So what we're going to have to do is put Dan Hollis's name on it. Okay. All right, I'll pause and let it do its thing. And let's see what we got going on here. And here it goes. Okay, cool. Should say by Dan Hollis. There you go. And that way you can give fame to where fame is due, which is to Dan. Okay, we'll go ahead and download it. There we go. And then we're going to blast this out of this. Okay, and let's kill this one and this one. We're going to go ahead and add media. We'll do it down here on this little button. If you guys have Camtasia, it's a great application. We'll import media. And then we're just going to use the Dan Hollis version. We don't care about the AI hosts. By the way, this is a really important place to talk about the identity issue. There's a huge issue with AI versus human. And you want to always elevate your client, not the AI. So AI is supposed to be there to support. And I heard Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, talk about all this. And this is where he's saying that things like these AI podcasters and everything are going to be doing, you should be doing it to elevate the brand, right? See this little artifact right here? There's something not quite right. Let's see if that's an artifact. Nope. Okay, let's look at this.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about semaglutide, The medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days. Definitely sparking a lot of conversations.
You guys sent in chapters from Slim by Science, the
Now this is a
GLP-1
pretty
peptide
boring
advantage.
image, so what I'm trying to do right now, I'm also trying to figure out how to create like vibrating lights and everything while they're talking. So we're going to do those. Those are called engagement factors, but we're not going to do that on the first one.
A Patient's Guide to Better
Looks like I got to
Health
talk to Dan
by
on
Daniel
Thursday.
Hollis. Figured we'd unpack it together, really get into the
Okay, it mentions his name and to go through it.
The good news is that these are usually mild and tend to be temporary.
What's cool about this is it's a
But it's
25-minute
not a
podcast.
miracle cure. It works best when combined with a healthy diet and feel fuller
It
after
covers
meals.
most of the points of his book. So at this point, we're going to export. We're going to go to export, and we're going to export. Let's go ahead and just local file. And I'm going to create a special file of projects on my desktop. This is for those of you who haven't done a lot of this kind of work. Completely fine. Just go to, I'm going to downloads. I'm going to put it in my videos, and I'm going to call this Dan Hollis. Okay. And we're going to call this by science. Nope. Book LM podcast 1. Okay. What that allows me to do is when I make more of these, because I'm going to show you how you can interact with your podcast. We're going to select that folder. Oops. There you go. And we're going to export it. Now what it's going to do is it's going to render this audio, and we're going to show you how to take it to the podcast thing. I'm going to pause and not put you through this so you can see how we upload it. I'll have that all ready for you. What we're going to do is we're going to open up this area, and in this way we'll be ready to build Dan's. We're building this part right here, guys. We're focusing on the brand LLM. This means any language learning model that is your ambassador for your brand. Okay? Okay, then that is media is done. So I'm going to go open it up in my folder, check to make sure we have it. Let's go ahead and look at that. Should be just a file.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about, semaglutide, the medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days. Might be, but the important thing is that these trials, all of them, really demonstrated that semaglutide can be a very effective tool for weight loss.
For sure. All right, so we've got a good grasp on the science of the trials.
Pause this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and create a, we're going to go over here and in an ideal situation, we're going to create his own channel for him. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to go over to Jordan. I'll go to YouTube. Okay, allow. Setting. Yeah, it's in its own place. And now we're just going to upload to a test area. Okay, and we're going to keep it unlisted just so we can show the client. Go to videos, go to Dan Hollis, and go here. And we're going to call this podcast. Okay, and we'll just go next. We'll leave it unlisted, and that will give us something to show the client. And pause for a second. I'll show you how that looks like on a channel. Of course, we're going to brand the channel for SEO. It's going to be specifically for Dan Hollis, and we're going to connect that channel, especially the About page on the YouTube channel, to all the other platforms that he has, and that'll give us a nice SEO push when we build his own channel. So we're just going to put this as a proof of concept on an unlisted area in our channel as our VA builds the actual channel tied to the client. Okay, all right. Give it a minute and it'll process and we'll play it for you. And here it is, proof of concept.
All right, diving right in today, we're tackling a topic a lot of you have been curious about: semaglutide. The medication making waves in the weight loss world.
Yeah, seems like it's everywhere these days. Definitely sparking a lot of conversations.
You guys sent in chapters from Slim by Science, the GLP-1 Peptide Advantage, A Patient's Guide to Better Health by Daniel Hollis. Figured we'd unpack it together, really get into the nitty-gritty of what this semaglutide is all about.
Great choice. Hollis really breaks down the science in a way that's...
Okay, there you go. So there it is. That's just a basic proof of concept, and we can have a much nicer book cover made, and we can have his own, we'll upload this to his own channel once the VA continues making it. All right, good. So now you know how to use a few different AI things. And by the way, I will also when this is done, I'll take this entire transcript here. It'll probably take a few minutes because it's still processing. We just literally uploaded it, but it will actually take that whole 45-minute conversation, which we have here. And let's go ahead and here's some cool things. We can build a study guide, and we can put that over in our ChatGPT project or our brand ambassador. We can do a briefing doc for this book. It's going to generate all these using Gemini as the AI behind this one. We can create a timeline. And let's take a look at what some of these mean. There they go. Cast of characters. All right, so these are all the parts of it. And on the next video, I'm going to have to get some rest tonight, but on the next video, I'll show you how you can insert yourself and have a conversation and add yourself to the podcast. This is a beta test, but it is actually going to be a pretty cool feature that they have. All right, I'll see you on the next video.